study abroad. Then also, of course, when you are coming to a more rich country or a developed country, the government is providing more funds than compared to other countries in case of research for research and development. So if you are efficient enough, you will always get enough funding to carry on your research. But again, you have to prove your skills, you have to prove that you're efficient, you have to win it. So this is something that you have to ace. Yeah. And on a personal frontier, if you're talking, if you are a cultural enthusiast or a linguophile, you want to know more about different cultures, you want to learn new languages. Again, with the education, there is always chances for experiencing all these diversities. Yeah. So these are the reasons, or these are the chances that you will get once you choose to study in a country other than your native country. So once you have decided to pursue an education abroad, the next question, and in fact the biggest constraint, is that how to finance your education. Because quite often most of us are preferring, and that's a fact actually, and this is something like that we have to think about also. Like we will not like always all of us prefer to go to a place which is better than what we are in, right? No one will prefer to go to a country that is no one will prefer to choose situations that are worse than what you're getting now. So, of course, most of the people are aiming at migrating to a developed country. Of course, there are other top notch universities and institutes in Asia also. I'll give, I will take a name of few in the coming slides. But usually, the common destinations of people who wish to study abroad are usually the United States of America, Canada, or the developed European countries. So, which are, of course, highly expensive to bear. So the financing or how to fund your education is a big hurdle once you have decided to pursue an education. And because of this reason, I have seen many people dropping their plan also. So there are mainly three options, of which the first two are more relevant, and the third one is not applicable in many of our cases. So we have the scholarships. So for getting a scholarship, you have to be really hardworking. At the same time, you have to foresee things. It is not something that you can apply at the 11th hour and you can gain a scholarship. That's totally impossible. So if you are aiming at a scholarship, if you want to bag a scholarship to study in one of the top universities in USA, Canada, or Europe, anywhere, whichever place of your interest, you have to do a proper research. Of course, you can use Google, and it is a good source, or you can follow on social medias. There are many pages or groups wherever you will get updates about different positions and scholarships. So you have to be updated. And if you are planning to apply for a scholarship, you have to be well updated. You have to keep yourself relevant, and you have to foresee things at least 1.5 years, 1 to 1.5 years before you are planning to apply. So it is not something that because for applying for a scholarship and bagging a scholarship, it is a really tough thing. There's a lot of competition from people all across the world, and you have to collect a lot of documents. You have to arrange all the documents together so that you can make up a good profile and you can strengthen your application. So this is something that you have to work much advanced before you are planning to apply for a scholarship. So the second option is a simple option, but it is not simple for most of us. It is like the self-funding where you can finance your education by yourself. Again, that depends upon the country and the university that you want to choose. Of course, you want a top-class university in a very developed country. It can cost around half crore, like 40 to 50, maybe it can go up to 60 or 70 lakhs. So that is not a good option because I would always suggest you to look for scholarships because there are a lot of options available if you are ready to do a little bit of work. If you are ready to give some of your time into it, because of course it is a time consuming procedure. You have to search up a lot of areas, you have to collect information, and sometimes getting a scholarship is also, we cannot say an exact criteria like how you're getting selected. It is not obviously based completely on your marks. Of course, you need to have good scores. Like 75 to 80 percentage and above is good, considered good. And along with that, you have to prove, like there are certain other factors which the selection committee which will make the selection committee feel that you are the ideal candidate. So but there is always an option. And even in scholarship, we have different categories, like fully funded, where your entire cost of education during the entire period of your education, like if it was master's degree, if it was for 2 years, or if it is for 1 year, then like in UK you have master degrees of 1 year, whereas in US and Canada and in other parts of European Union countries you have 2 years master degree. So you have to decide which type of master degree that you need to pursue. I would always suggest your 2-year master degree because it is widely accepted in most of the countries. I don't think 1-year master degree is accepted everywhere. So so there are scholarships in the fully funded categories, semi-funded categories, which may cover only your tuition fee, and you have to bear all other expenses like your travel, accommodation, health insurance, etc. So that is another option. So even if you are not able to find fully funded scholarship, which will cover the entire cost, like the air tickets, the insurance, your cost of living, everything, there is always an option for you to find semi-funded or partially funded scholarships also. That is also a good choice if you are too much passionate about pursuing a study abroad. Then in self-funding also, there are options like you can go for a study loan and all. Sometimes you have to the country in which you are going will ask you to show a particular amount of money in your blocked accounts. So that is one option. But I think countries like Germany and some other European countries like the Poland are somewhat lesser expensive countries. I've heard of people who've gone with 10 or 8 or 10 lakhs of deposit in their bank account. They were only to show 8 or 10 lakhs in their bank account, and then they could go there. And once you are there, you can, if you are hardworking enough, you can make some extra money by doing some part-time jobs or something. Or maybe if you are able to prove, if you are able to score well in your exams, the European government is always giving scholarships for academically brilliant students also. So once you are here also, as a self-funding student also, there is always option that you can gain a scholarship or a fee waiver even after coming here. So these are only for people who could not unfortunately find a scholarship, but still are passionate to come to a foreign country and pursue their higher education. So I would, from my experience, I would suggest you not to consult any agency because we are from a science background. And of course, if you are going for a higher education, I think obviously research, or you wish to be in the research field or academic field, most probably. So I don't think an agency can probably guide you, or they cannot put you into perhaps the best institute that you can go. So the entire procedure from finding out your scholarship or finding out your university or the country where you want to study, and then the ended application procedure and to the visa procedure till how you come here. Everything can be done by yourself. It's just a matter of like you have to put in a lot bit of your time. You have to spend time to find out about things. Of course, you can ask people who have done it before. So I will suggest that will be the best option than to go for any consulting agencies. So this is best option. You can, as I told you, you'll always get information, a lot of information online. These days, it's very simple, and also you can network with people whom you think have done this before and are the perfect people to ask. So I will also give you a suggestion at this point. If you are, once you have made up your mind that you have to do something, it's not only in the case of the higher education abroad, always consult someone whom you think has done the same thing before, and whom you think that is a good person, like, or he or she can give you a good opinion on this particular topic. So if you want to get an advice, do not gather advice randomly from every person who come across you, because then you will get multiple opinions. It will only end up in a great confusion. Even you will not be able to decide what to do. So if you are confident enough to do, confident enough to pursue higher education abroad, this is something that you have to analyze. You have to have an understanding about how things will work for you in the future also. It's not just to complete your education and then come back, but you have to have a plan about what are the things that you're going to do after this 2 years of study program or whatever you are studying. So after that also, if you're having a good plan, then if you're confident enough, you can take advice from 2 or 3 people who you think are the best in this, are the best at their position to give you advice, and that is enough. Because if you are trying to take a lot of opinion from everyone, you'll get a thousands of opinion and it will all be messed up. So once you are confident enough, half of the things will be done. And then coming to the now I will like to talk more in specific about the scholarships, because that is what we also aim, or like like all of you, or most of you should bag a scholarship and come, because scholarships are not only prestigious, but the financial funding that they gave you is also very important. So as far as scholarships are concerned, there is no particular criteria that we can say this factor has decided your selection. So it is a cumulative effect of several factors, or and these are some of the documents. Of course, your application and the document that you submit along with your application plays a key role in your selection. So these are some of the important documents which are very much necessary if you are applying for any of the scholarships, or even if you are applying for an university directly. Even if you are not aiming at a scholarship also, you need all these documents for all of the foreign universities, as far as I know, to be selected. So your transcript, of course, your complete mark sheet, then your CV. CV is one of the most important factor that can decide your selection. So once you are applying for a scholarship, have a thorough understanding about what kind of CV are they asking you for. It's not just you make something in 5 or 6 papers and give them whatever you like, but instead you have to go through their website thoroughly. They will be giving you instructions on what kind of an application they want. There will be sometimes they will be specifying that we want a CV in this particular format and in this much of pages. They will prescribe you the page limit also. So you have to strictly follow what they are prescribing you. If they are asking you for a CV of 2 page and you are giving them a CV of 2.5 to 3 page, or even it is a bad impression at the first sight. So always try to stick on to the parameters that they are mentioning. So sometimes in usual cases, if you are applying for any of the European countries, it is better to use CV in the Europass format. Europass format is something that you can download from Google. Mm, you can just go and check on Google for Europass CV format download. You can get a downloadable version of in a Word document. So you can edit the Word document. You can add details that you want to add. You can remove the things that you think are not relevant for you. And then once you can edit, again, CV is not something that you can make in a couple of days before your application date ends. You have to make your CV. You have to keep on editing it. You have to keep on adding things and removing things that you think are not relevant. And then finally, you will have perfect CV by the time you have to apply. So I would say okay, always go for the format of CV is very important. If they are not prescribing any format, you can make it in a Word file or something. And if they are prescribing a format, for example, the Europass format by the European Commission, so you have to use that particular format only. And then usually it is good to keep a short and concise one. I would suggest you to keep it around 2 pages. In case they are suggesting, you have to stick on to the word page limit. But if they are not suggesting, then 2 to 3 pages is maximum. No one would spend their time. They are reviewing thousands of applications, so they don't want to read a CV of 5 or 6 pages for each applicant. So it would be better. The shorter you keep it, the better it will be. So you can keep it around 2 to 3 pages if they are not mentioning any particular word page limit. Then, of course, the motivation letter, or which is also called as the statement of purpose or the SOP, or in some cases it can also be called as a research plan. But if you are applying for a master degree, it is not never called as a research plan. It is called as a motivation letter or statement of purpose, or in short, you can call it as an SOP or so. So this is something that you have to write by yourself. You have to motivate the reviewing committee. You have to motivate the reviewing committee or the selection committee why you are good to be chosen for this particular scholarship or particular program. You have to give in the reasons, like you have to mention a few sentences about your background in this particular field. Then why do you think you are considering yourself as a good candidate to be selected for this particular scholarship? And once you are awarded the scholarship, what are all the things that you aim to do, or what are the things that you aim to achieve through this scholarship or the study program? So these are the important factors that should come in the motivation letter. And again, stick on to the page limit or word limit that the scholarship committee has given, or maybe in case they are not prescribing any word limit, again I would suggest you to keep it short, to half, not half, to 1 to 1.5 page long. But if they are mentioning you they are giving you some word limit like 500 words or 1000 words, then of course you have to stick on to that word limit. Then recommendation letter. So recommendation letter is another important factor. You have to get recommendation letter. If you are an ongoing student, it is always better to get a recommendation letter from your professors. So that depends upon the type of scholarship that you are going to apply. Maybe the scholarship program will ask you to give one recommendation letter, but there are programs that even ask up to 3 recommendation letter. So you have to consult the professor. You have to decide which professor should give me a recommendation letter. So you have to talk with him in beforehand, because at the last moment, if you're going and talking it with him, maybe he can reject. He may tell that he is not going to give you a letter. So again, then you don't have time to find out another option. So you have to talk with the professor beforehand, and you have to have like you should be sure that he will be providing a recommendation letter. So in some cases, it is like you can collect the letter from the professor and then keep it with you, and you can upload it by yourself along with other application documents like your CV and motivation letter through the application portal, or whatever is the mode of application. But in some cases, the scholarship committee will ask the professor to send the motivation letter directly to them. In that case, you will not know what the professor has mentioned about you in the recommendation letter. So in some courses, it is like that. And in some courses, you can just collect the recommendation letter from the professor, and then you can upload it by yourself. So recommendation letter is something that the professor has to write for yourself. But sometimes, some cases, the professor may not be having enough time or something, or he may ask you to write a draft and then give him. He will modify it, he will edit it, and then he will give you a recommendation letter. So in that case, if you are asked to make a draft, you should again be serious about what you're writing. The selection committee should not feel that, okay, you have written something and you have given to someone, you have bribed or hired someone to get it signed, and then you got a recommendation letter. So you should be serious while writing that. You should make them feel that the professor has written all these things about the student. And you have to be serious in while writing that content. It should sound like a professor has written this one for you, and it is not written by you and you just got it signed by some others. So application form. So along with this, all the supporting documents. So the CV, motivation letter, recommendation letter are the documents that will support your application. And along with that, always here you have to fill an application form also. So that will vary upon the program or the institute that you are applying for. So go through their website, study all the instructions properly, go through it like for repeatedly for more than 4 or 5 times, because you have to strictly follow every instructions that they are providing, even in case of making all the documents to the format in which you can submit the documents. So everything is important. So if even the slightest mistake can make your application be rejected. So one of the important factor that decides your selection is the perfection of your application. So this is something that you can achieve only through repeated review. For that, you have to give a lot of time. That's why I was asking you to start thinking about application 1 or 1.5 years before that you are actually planning to apply. Then application fees, this is not relevant in case of scholarships. None of the scholarship programs, as far as I'm aware, is asking for the application fee. It's free of cost. You can just submit your application. But if you are applying for some institutes directly, you are applying for some universities, sometimes they may ask you for an application fee. Again, I think this is the usual case with Canadian or American universities. I have not seen application fee, any of the European universities asking for application fee. But again, that depends upon the institute that you are planning to study. So these are about the application document. Then these are some of the governments, foreign governments that are providing scholarships for higher education. So you can follow their, you can follow or you can keep yourself updating by checking these websites. Here you will get the information about various scholarships that they are providing. Then once you get to know about them, you can go through the procedures and you can apply it. Then these are some of the websites of the government scholarships. So please go through this website and collect as much as information possible. And see, the DART scholarship by the German government, it is also one of the most prestigious scholarships in the world because it is also giving you an opportunity. The amount of scholarship, the scholarship money is huge, and also Germany is of course an ideal destination for those who want to settle in a European country. The stay back options are far better than other European countries in Germany. So that scholarship is a very good option, but the only problem here is that before applying, you need to have a continuous 2 years of work experience, not a part-time job. It should be a full-time job. They are mentioning some 6,000 or not something around working hours. So you have to qualify that. So what I mean to say is that if you are not ready to pursue higher education, immediately after your graduation, if you think that you need to do work, so you need to support your family for some time, there is always options. You can go for a work, you can gain work experience, even that will add to your CV. So then okay, you can apply. There is no rule that you should apply immediately after your graduation, because there are people who are in the 30s and 40s doing masters here. So you can, like, whenever you feel that you need to pursue an education abroad, there is always opportunities open for you. So even if you're graduated, you're working for a few years, or even if you complete a master degree in your country, also in India also, you can. There is always an option to do a second master degree or even a PhD in abroad. So for that scholarship, if you are not interested in immediately applying, if you're planning for a job for coming years, then this option is always available for you because it requires continuous 2 years of work experience. So this is good for who are planning to apply later. Then in Belgium, the Vlarios scholarship, unfortunately, Indians are not. I didn't edit it. Indians are not eligible for Vlarios scholarship these days. Earlier, it was available. Then you have the Netherlands, Holland government scholarship also. So please keep yourself updated by visiting these websites if you are interested. Then these are again some of the website that you can check for various scholarship positions. Some names, you have also scholarship positions like there is something called as graduate assistantship, which is usually common in the American countries or the Canada and the USA. So there is like an option. You are not, in that case, you are not getting a scholarship, but you are getting a salary because you will be hired as a graduate assistant by a researcher or someone who is doing his PhD or maybe a lecturer or someone. You have to assist him in his research activities, or you have to help him in the teaching. Maybe you will be asked to give a few lectures when he is not available. So he will pay you, and as a reward, he will be paying your education. And sometimes you will be allowed to do a master or PhD under the project that he is doing. So this is not available. This option is not available, or it is not much common in the European countries. But of course, it is a great opportunity. There's a great opportunity in the USA and Canada. But again, that will require some work experience. Of course, people will definitely prefer to hire people with better work experience to make their assistant. So if you are a fresh graduate, I don't think graduate assistantship post is a good option. So you can, as a fresh graduate, you can always look for scholarships for master's degrees. Then let's make a comparison between the European countries and the American countries, the US and Canada. So these are the most common destinations. Of course, that's why I'm talking about them. And the educational institutes and research facilities and the career thereafter are higher in those countries. But there are also other top ranked institutes in Asia also, like the Asian Institute of Technology, you might have heard, which is in Thailand. So you can also search for options there. Then there is also mixed scholarship, a mixed MEXT scholarship by the Japanese government. That is also very reputed scholarships, but I have not mentioned them here. But if you're interested for higher education in Asia, all these are also good options because Japan and Thailand are all well developed in terms of technology and as well as they are leading countries in aquaculture and fisheries. So all those are also good options. Because even people who are doing their PhD or master degree, their degree here, they are going to the Asian countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Japan for their master thesis because aquaculture is far much developed in all those countries also. So that's also a good option. You can find it by yourself. Then, if you're making a comparison between European countries and the American countries, the European government is giving more scholarship at the point of master degree. So there is always a chance. As a fresh graduate, there is always a better opportunity to get a scholarship into European countries than the American countries. Of course, if you are able to self-finance, you can go for this option also. But if you are aiming for a scholarship, I would suggest, and from my experience also, this European countries are a better option. And of course, language test, which can be the IELTS or TOEFL, is a compulsory factor. Sometimes you can see that some universities may give you an exemption if you have high school education in English, especially if you're from the CBSE or ICSE board. But I would always suggest you to have the test cleared to be in the safe zone. So IELTS is valid for the European countries only, and also for other Asian and Canada also IELTS is valid. But if you are very particular about going to the United States, USA, you have to clear your GRE and TOEFL. But in all other cases, the IELTS will do. And when you are giving IELTS for higher education, I'm not talking about job here. I'm only talking about higher education. So when you are planning to take your master degree or PhD, whatever it is, you have to clear the IELTS, and you all know it is the English language test. And when you are giving the IELTS for an education purpose, there are two categories of IELTS: academic and the general IELTS. But when you are giving it for the education purpose, you have to choose the academic IELTS. So academic, so that you have to be very careful about that because only academic IELTS will be accepted in case of higher education. So the IELTS exam consists of 4 parts: the listening, reading, writing, and speaking sessions. So the listening, reading, and writing sessions will be held in a single stretch on one day, and the speaking sessions will be usually held one day prior to or one day after the other 3 tests. So I will always recommend you to go for a coaching than to give a try by yourself. Even if you're well good at English, you are well enough to handle the language, then also I will suggest you to take coaching, at least a short-term coaching, because there are some strategies to crack this exams. That is, even if you're good in English, there are people who do not score well because the answering pattern is a bit different. It's not just you can speak or write whatever you want. They are expecting certain points and they are expecting it in a certain pattern. So in order to practice yourself with that, I will always suggest you to go for coaching, and online coaching can also do. And then in case of Europe, you're getting a good amount of scholarship, and the advantage here is that the tuition fee in most of the European universities are almost very negligible. So you can save a good amount of scholarship that you're getting. Whereas in USA and Canada, the situation is not like that. They are highly expensive. The educational institute or the fees are highly expensive. So quite often you have to use all your money for as a tuition fee. Then you have to pay your health insurance and all other expenses also. So meeting your expense will be a challenge if you are going to the American countries. Whereas if you're having a scholarship, it will be very smooth in European countries. But if you are not having a scholarship, in case, I would suggest to say there is always an option for doing part-time jobs. But in European countries, I'm not talking about the United Kingdom, where English is the official language, but other European countries, they have their own languages, maybe the German or the Dutch or the French. So in that case, you have to qualify the language test to be able for a part-time job. So that is another challenge. So while choosing a country, you have to be very careful about it. But this is all not a problem if you're having a fully funded scholarship, because then money is not a matter, because you have enough funds to finance yourself. So okay, so if you are choosing a country, then keep these things in mind: the language constraints. As you should go for whether English you can manage there with English itself, or you have to learn their language also. Then, but in European countries, the stay back options are lesser. You have to be you have to really struggle yourself to find a position for PhD once your master degree is finished. So that is one major problem here. Whereas in US or Canada, you can always get a lot of opportunities for PhD. Now, other studies, other research thereafter after your masters. So now I would like to give a special insight into the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Scholarship, which is funded by the European Commission and of which I am a part of. So this is a very prestigious master degree program, and in fact, as far as I know, it is the only scholarship that gives you huge funding that gives a huge funding for a fresh graduate. In all of the scholarship, as I mentioned before, also in the DART scholarship, also you have to have a continuous 2 years of work experience. And in all of the cases, scholarships like the Commonwealth Fulbright scholarship, so it is beyond the scope of a fresh graduate. So if you're looking for a fully funded scholarship in the European Union, anywhere across Europe, this is the best option for you, and it is globally reputed, and it covers the entire cost of for your 2 years, including your air tickets back and from and to India, and then your health insurance, your tuition fee, your expenses for your accommodation, your monthly expense. So it is funding of around 46 to 50 lakhs. So it is a luxurious and a prestigious scholarship. But of course, as some people has highlighted, there is some consequences of this scholarship is like there is no stay back option. You are getting a visa or a resident permit only for 2 years, and you are officially asked to leave the place after you have completed your 2 years of master degree. And again, that depends upon how efficient you handle the 2 years here. If you are having enough opportunity for internship, you have enough opportunity to create networks with researchers and professors. So if you are efficient enough to utilize this 2 years of time effectively, I can vouch you that of course there are always options that you can find for a period after your master degree also. Like you can always find a PhD position if you are interested in academics or research field, or you can also be a part of some of the commercial companies if you want to work or something. So that is again that is something that you have to achieve in the 2 years that you are here, because during this study program, master's study program, we have a mobility involved. Like maybe you have one semester in one university, then the other semester in the other university. So it will involve a mobility of up to maximum of 4 or 5 universities. So you can consider it as an advantage, and at the same time as a disadvantage too, because you are getting an exposure of different universities, different faculties, and you are getting the opportunity to work in the different laboratories. So that is a big advantage, and it is a unique advantage which you will never ever get through any other program. Even if you are spending so a lot of money for self-funding education, also you're not going to get this opportunity to be a part of more than one of the world-class universities. But at the same time, it can be a disadvantage also, because you are not stick to a particular place. By the time you get adjusted, that is a mobility issue. By the time you get adjusted to a particular place, then you have to move to the other place. So so for those who people consider it as a challenge, it is not a good option. But who are enthusiastic enough and take it in a good spirit, it is also an advantage. So, so the advantages are like there are several advantages for this Erasmus scholarship. Not only in case of funding, but also in case of reputation and networking. But there is no option for stay back. So, as I told you, it depends on how efficiently you use the 2 years in Europe. So, it is up to you whether you can find yourself a good position or some way to continue here in Europe even after completing your studies. Um, okay, that's all about it. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to me.